Thank you, Michelle. Our first guest has written a steamy tell-all detailing wild sexual encounters with numerous A-list actors and one famous author. Carole Mallory was one of the original supermodels whose image graced the covers of countless magazines and led to acting roles on the big screen. But it was her role as muse for author Norman Mailer that led to a 9-year affair. That heated affair is the topic of Mallory's new book, Loving Mailer. Please welcome Carole Mallory. Carole, great to see you.
Great to see you, Bill.
You live in Valley Forge, and you were born actually in Haverford. Grew up in Haverford?
Correct.
But you saw the world, really, as someone who worked for Pan Am Airlines.
Right. I flew around the world for Pan Am.
What I've read in your book, you've clearly done a lot as well. That position as stewardess actually led you to meet a lot of famous people and think that you'd like to be one of those persons.
Yes, and it also led me to drinking. I used to steal the little bottles off the plane and became an alcoholic and got sober in 1980 and ended that. And then I met Norman in 83 and tried to rescue him from his alcoholism, which kept me involved longer than probably I would have been had I not been trying to essentially save his life.
So you were a very young woman when you became an alcoholic. You met Norman Mailer with his wife.
Yes, I did. His best friend introduced us, and she knew about me for the entire time. And he said that, you know, there was a cover story that she didn't know about me, but she did. How could you not know about me for 8 years? I mean, she wasn't Helen Keller. I was all over the place. So anyway.
You met with him frequently.
Frequently, once a week.
And when I say met with him, I meant met in the bedroom with him.
Well, he came over and we'd have writing lessons. What I wanted from was his knowledge of writing. I wanted to be a writer. And I did publish a book, Flash, in 88, and then I did a lot of journalism. I interviewed him 9 times, and he taught me how to be a journalist. So he'd come over and he'd give me a writing lesson, and then we'd make love, and then we'd go to lunch or dinner, kind of in that order. But it was the writing lessons that I devoured, and actually Harvard bought my archive of the writing lessons. It was my writing with his edits on top, and they honored me with the purchase of my archive, and I think it was in 2008, right after he died.
What did he teach you about writing?
Oh, he taught me to use a pencil, a number 2 lead pencil, and not to use a number 1 or a number 3. It's too soft. And to eat when you write, bananas are good, and to exercise, and to not write longer than maybe 4 hours at a time, but I've gone for 5. And he didn't like adverbs or adjectives, really. He'd take them out a lot. Stay away from the caffeine. Caffeined writing is not good. And to edit, I edit when I work. My morning brain is better for editing. At night is really babbling, which is fine. You babble on the page and let it come out. But the morning is when you come in and clean it up. My brain, anyway.
Now, did you meet him after you had flings with so many different actors?
Yes, and he found that amusing. I was trying to write about them. I had a book it was an autobiography, and I wrote up all the men, and he would love to edit the chapters on the men. I think men enjoy reading about men. I really do. At least Norman did. And there was a chapter on Warren Beatty, and when I met him, I showed him Norman, the autobiography, and he happened to open it to the chapter on Warren Beatty, which is very sensational. And anyway, that's where I began the book, Loving Mailer, on the Warren Beatty chapter. But it's not a book about Warren Beatty. It's about Norman Mailer and my love for him.
And you suggest in the book, too, that he may have had more than a passing interest in men.
I think so. His wife took him to gay porno films, and he wanted me to go, and I said, no, thank you, go with your wife. So that kind of gave me an indication of that.
You were with him for 9 years. Did you ever think that it would be more than just an affair with Norman?
I really didn't want that. I wanted a friendship. You know, in France, the president of France, he's deceased now, Francois Mitterrand, had a mistress, and he was president for 14 years. And the mistress, there's a photo of them at the gravesite with the wife, the illegitimate daughter, and the mistress. And that's how France views the mistress. They respect unconditional love. And
You really didn't get that kind of respect at the end of this relationship,
no, I
though.
don't think so. I don't think mistresses do in America. And I have to say, in defense of mistresses, they have the courage to look public opinion right in the belly and say, I believe in unconditional love. I'm trying to love. And there's nothing wrong with that.
How did the affair end?
Badly. He said his wife found out about me when she had known all along. And then my wonderful mother took care of me, and I took care of her. And she was 91, and she came to live with me in New York, Laura Lulu Lango Wagner. And for 9 years, I cared for her till she was 100. And I brought her back here to Plymouth Meeting, Place 1, and she died shortly thereafter. And I met a man, Kenneth Gambone, who helped me care for her, and I married him shortly after his death. And he's 26 years younger than me, and we're still married and still in love.
And living happily in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania.
Happily ever after in Valley Forge,
Where there's
PA.
a lot to read here. Carole Mallory, Loving Mailer. Thank you so much for stopping by the 10 Show.